and make sure to get those predictions in for any of the regions that still have the predictions open, and try and get yourself some free units. And see the teams you like. If there are partner teams, potentially get yourself a little bit of a shirt for your favorite Vanguard Deadpool friend in your life. We're getting ready to head into Krakoa. It's Reason Gaming versus Vision Esports. Take it away, Ryan Central and God Moxon.
Thank you, Tetra. I mean, this is a really scary game for both these teams. I think Reason is probably on paper like the team that's expected to do better because they have the more experience, so they've made some pretty good roster changes. But you're up against domination experts of Vision with how they played before. Elsa, still not seen the action today. I wonder if it's going to be the same sort of trail of like the protection of the Gambit and getting rid of the Loki. Deadpool Vanguard is actually going to be first choice for Vision.
Yeah, I'm honestly A-okay with this. I think on Domination especially, being able to get Banhammer online instantly puts so much pressure on the other team's backline that Reason Gaming, they're going to jump on that instantly. They see, okay, that save slot, it's not going to be Gambit, he's susceptible to banning, and they sweep him out. So it looks like we're actually going to have two different identities, very similar to that last series, except this time it's going to be one-sided Vanguard Deadpool against one-sided Gambit on the team of Reason Gaming, although Vision have not yet gone for the ban, or rather, there we go, yeah, ban onto the Loki. Now, is it going to be ban on Vanguard Deadpool, or are they going to let it, yeah, there we go. Just before Reason get that next save slot, which would have freed up Wade Wilson so that Vision weren't allowed to target him.
I think you were a little bit worried of like, oh, are they actually going to ban it out? Are they going to go for something else? I mean, they just want to make sure that the Loki is off, and it is something that like Reason Gaming would have to adjust to if they want to make sure that it's not going to be one-sided in the hands of Vision Esports.
Oh,
Invisible
absolutely.
Woman is actually going to be protected too, so yeah, I feel like if this Loki, it's a good protection potentially for Vision if they can get a hold of it, but it's also like how well Loki plays into dive as well. It really puts a lot of pressure onto the backlines.
Ooh, there's the respect onto Ballas's Psylocke. This was a player who even last year when Psylocke was nerfed and not full meta was still catching the stray bans towards that duelist, but it does mean that Reason still have access to the Daredevil if they want to be able to play that dive, as Vision will secure themselves the Jeff the Landshark before Reason can ban that out. So I feel like we're still going to be seeing dive, given the fact that Vision went for the save onto Jeff. Going for a ban onto the Venom now is actually very high value from Reason's opinion, because it removes out the symbiotic shenanigans and means that if you do go for a dive Vanguard, it's one that Jeff is still going to be able to help with things like the bubbles, but not going to be able to turn the tempo into a potential brawl state time with the symbiotic shenanigans.
There is so much here that's actually just one-sided. On one team, you've got a one-sided Gambit, Daredevil, and a Venom, and then a one-sided Loki, Deadpool Vanguard, and a Psylocke. So very different to how we saw the last draft, where it was like maybe one character, like the archetype was different of how you'd adjust to these compositions. Now it's a pretty free and open thing, looking a little bit more at some of the choices. But as a reminder, Vision Esports surprised us, at least the core of these players did, with their performance of domination and a third place finish at MRC back in January of this year. Reason Gaming played mostly under Insomnia and finished like 9th to 12th. It was a disappointing run from them, but they've been consistently strong in Ignite. It really is a case of like how well they do up against a team that loves these like King of the Hill maps. If they get the win, they're going to feel a lot better. If not, there might be a bit more pressure on the new roster changes the Reason Gaming have done.
Feeling a little bit worried for Seijiro on that Invisible Woman. I mean, Reason, it looks like we're going to be having an Anchor core split come through, so they can still play the dive, but okay, no, swapping off of the Invis, going for that Gambit for the Star-Lord with that Galactic Legend synergy, as leaving Invis Woman up would allow Vision to jump on that backline when she is much more isolated, as we actually have two schools of dive. Undivable backline for Vision Esports, with Satam actually coming through on that Psylocke, and Rex playing the Rocket to give the teleport iframe for Zerx, as Xbeta on the Angela is going to be clearing out Reason's engagement and allowing Vision to take a lot more map control. But Ryan, look at what Reason are doing. They've got the mag, they're putting their back to the point so that when it unlocks, Vision are forced to walk into them.
It's a bit hard to uproot this kind of composition for Reason Gaming, and it's looking very much on the precipice of being taken from them first. Vision Esports have to dip their toes in the water to make sure that it's not going to go across, especially these ultimates being built up. But the range of the Jeff with the heal and the damage cleave is actually enough to get the pick off in the end. BR back means that it is going to be a short intermission for Satam over on this Psylocke, and the Banhammer is coming from Gainer. It's one-sided. He's found that first pick right onto Seijuro, the main focus of the obscenities that are thrown his way. And whilst all of this has happened, Vision Esports jumped off the point enough that Reason Gaming were able to take it.
I mean, they actually got it originally before the Banhammer even came through, as Forever was able to get the grab onto Gainer and stop the Deadpool from contesting it. As Vision now face one of their problems. Where do the eliminations come from? They've got the dive, they've got a lot of map space, but the damage individually is just not enough to be able to overcome Reason Gaming sustainability, especially now that KitKat has the It's Jeff to be able to give the team even higher sustain.
Battle in the air so far is now the amplifier is going to be used. It's Jeff now that everybody's grouped up onto the point. If it's going to be able to grab a few more people, it's going to try and sustain those first as the Galactic Legend rings true alongside the amplifier to clean up house. In the end, for Vision Esports, able to actually take the objective, but 50% progression made for Reason Gaming just off of that moment that Vision Esports got off the objective. That could be costly in the end because it was costly with ults.
They finally had the damage potential to be able to break through the health points of Reason Gaming sustainability with the Cosmic Ion Amplifier, giving a very helping hand, and now they can actually dive. Reason have to go past them. They can't just play to brawl out on point. Down to the butterflies comes through from Satam, instantly homing onto Seijuro before the Gambit has Raging Roll Flush, and the moment that strategist falls, Reason Gaming have to abandon this fight, and Vision are going to look to get as much value as they can out of it. Lengthen out the elimination, stall out Reason Gaming's next push so that you can start shoring up your resources and walk away with a whole lot more point percentage, because when Reason Gaming walk forward, they should win this fight.
So much for Reason Gaming to work with. You feel like there's going to be a lot of focus that goes on to Ballast to try and orchestrate it over on the Daredevil. We're getting that information. Royal Flush is going to be used first to just apply a springboard as the Galactic Legend is going to be used in tow. A combination and bulwarks needed for any mitigation that goes onto the targets into the air. But this has been a good fight for Vision Esports. They've actually managed to peel their way back and be pretty safe. No eliminations came off of the back of Nocta trying to fly into the sky, and even gets taken down from the counterattack that comes in with the Heaven's Retribution. Let the Devil Out is going to be used, trying to hunt down Satam. But this is really good from how Vision have actually pulled this fight apart from Reason Gaming. They've taken back control of the objective, but not a lot of eliminations went the way of Reason considering the ultimates used.
Yeah, I mean, Reason used everything that they had available. Vision do lose the time a little bit late. Rex's BRB already got popped as well, so they're going to just bank up a little bit of time, bank up some point percentage, and try to walk forward with the Cosmic Ion Amplify Galactic Legend combo. That should be able to sweep them back this point, as we can see Nocta just controlling those off angles, making sure that X-Spider on that Angela can't get through and start disrupting the back line. If he wants to be able to hit a strategist, he has to get past the bounces of the Daredevil and Star-Lord first.
Real bodies on the point for Reason Gaming. It's hard for Vision Esports to actually uproot and isolate these fights, and Ballas is actually tried to pull onto the Vanguards that are diving into the backline. Zerk seeing if he can keep this fight going, has the portal to completely get off the objective if he wants to, but it means that there's going to be one less party to fight as overtime is being hit. You've got the HGF used to try to sustain out of this Galactic Legend. It doesn't have the Gambit Royal Flush to try to support it as much as it possibly can, but a Banhammer will work wonders to Gainer. Able to at least take out DRP that's on that Vanguard frontline as Magneto. He cleans up house, but for Reason Gaming, you do have a lot of ultimates about to be ready and a little bit of time to work with.
But do you get the opportunity to bowl them? Because look at how close Vision Esports are already holding. Trevor's actually going on to the Angela because I think they're reading the room. They know that Vision Esports are going to walk with their ultimates before Reason get the opportunity to shore up theirs. So the Angela has to get past the team and actually onto the point to be able to contest it, to hit into OT. Because the moment Vision see Reason, they're just going to go absolutely ham. We get Satam using Dance of the Butterflies because the teams do split, which catches KitKat. Now you're just relying on Soul Gambit healing, and that's not going to be enough have to sustain the team when we get to the brawl tempo on the actual point. Cosmic and Amplifier comes on through from Rex, but it's too late to save Gainer. Noctis Galactic Legend gets the support of Sejuris Raging Roll Flush, and this might be enough. But it's Jeff's carrying 2 off the board. QB with 2 off the field, off the cliff they go, and Reason get trades, but Vision puts Gainer onto the Strange, try to teleport back in, and should be able to refresh their players too.
You got the portal has been thrown in for Vision Esports to get the players back into action. How Nocta was able to survive for that long is crazy, but it's provided an opportunity for Reason. But Vision held on to the point long enough that they were able to take first. Close in the end for Reason Gaming. Vision Esports just the ultimate advantage right at the end, worked dividends, and that first pick that went straight on to KitKat put Reason on the back foot instantly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the moment Vision saw the point percentage deficit, knew that they had the ultimate economy. Like, Reason had the time. If Vision left them to their devices, Reason would have played the long game. They would have built up Raging Roar Flush. They would have had Nocta get ready to come through with the Galactic Legend, and you would just walk forward onto point when Vision Esports literally had nothing to be able to stand up to it. So very good adaptability coming on through from Vision. Really good as well ult tracking on their side, which I think was one of my worries coming into this season with the changes we talked about, right? In terms of the ult generation, it's not just when the ultimates get to be used, it's also for the players inside the actual game having to actually keep track of where those percentages are going to be each fight.
Speaking of the players in the actual game, we do have a quick pause, which is why we are back on us. We'll be continuing as soon as we are able. But you mentioned it perfectly, Moxie. The ability for these teams to be forced to actually really think about when they're going to use these ultimates and not get punished when they do, because it's a very good idea right now to just immediately turn your attention and just try and target down someone if you see, for example, let's say a Raging Royal Flush or an invisible barrier, because especially an invisible barrier, if you can take out that Invis woman, you can have a very good time about it. Either way, Vision able to take a solid lead, at least for the start here, and this is a bit of a closer matchup, which is exactly what we were hoping for, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, for Domination especially, it feels like this is going to be the best game mode for Vision. It might taper off, but we honestly don't know. We don't know, like, where they've started to put a lot of that focus and stuff. It really does feel like they're clean in these fights, but I think it's not the Lions players that are surprising me on Domination, it's Gainer. Like that Deadpool Vanguard, it's not only the fact that like he builds up his ultimate so quickly, but it seems to be always like you hear the banhammer go off, eliminations immediately showing up. Like how much value it seems to just instantly get from a Vanguard ultimate when some of the, say, Galactic Legends that we got, a full duration goes out, not one pick. A bunch of damage done, but the way that teams disengage means that there's no value. Seems to be always value off of the banhammer when it's used.
Not just that, but it's like decimating one-sided Gambit. Like, if you're going for the ban draft and one team is making away with one-sided Gambit, the other is making away with one-sided Vanguard Deadpool, that's your win condition, right? That's what you're building your composition around. When you have that Gambit ready to go with your team, that's the fight that you should be able to win. Even if you don't find eliminations, it should be picking yourself up so much of that space. So Vision Esports being able to utilize the banhammer coming on through from Gainer's ultimate and put the pressure onto Seijiro on the Gambit to fell him early, which then domino effects on the charge of Raging Royal Flush and forces Nocta to have to hold his ultimate as well, waiting for it to be able to sync up, massively impacts the timing that Reason have to be able to play not just one fight, but multiple.
We talked about it here with the fact that the Vanguard Deadpool does seem to be marking, especially the Gambit, but it was one-sided bans on both sides. We'll see how they're able to adjust as we head on back over to you two.
I think one thing that I'm also like looking at is it was KitKat that was on the Jeff last time, right? So Jura was over on, so it's the first time that we have seen like a protect one-sided actually being switched around, probably to do with a point like Jeff being able to throw people off the side of the map. But here you have Seijiro that's on the Invisible Woman that was also protected in the hands of Reason Gaming. Now they get to actually use both of them together.
Yeah, Seijiro should be able to help keep DRP anchoring onto this point, as well as being a little bit more of a bobber for Xpada on that Angela to have to deal with. As they do have Heaven's Retribution ready to go, and Reason Gaming do not have a good way of sustaining into it, but Forever makes the first move, marking out the other Angela, finding the elimination, and denying Vision Esports that engagement option that they were relying on.
Seeing if they can actually pull away Gainer that's just jumped straight back onto the objective, actually trying to play off of this little corner, the tree trunk providing some support from Vision Esports as they're doing similar to before. Banhammer's early, but the Heaven's Retribution is in hand. Meteor M, audacious from DRP, not quite able to connect onto this many moving flying targets, but a Galactic Legend is going to have a little bit more aid when it comes to locking on. It's actually the frontline Vanguards that are able to get the picks, but now it's starting to clean up. Vision Esports looking to take the objective first. Reason Gaming can't quite do the same as they did on the last point, taking it early and forcing out a lot more fights and ults.
Yeah, Banhammer forced out Meteor M so that Reason could actually live the Deadpool ultimate with their Gambit up, but that just meant that Zerx just had to play the waiting game. Meteor M done, free Galactic Legend, free elimination, and free first point cap. Now you get the opportunity of holding close for KitKat to be able to go in with that Raging Roll Flush, and you can just kite it out if Reason go too fast.
Gonna have another pause as well that's coming through, yeah. It could be all sorts of different stuff, but it's jarring for both teams. Worth adding.
Yes.
What do you think about Blast swapping over actually onto this Daredevil to be able to read out where Vision Esports are going to be playing from? But I would imagine also going to put more pressure on the Rocket and the Jeff. Because like at the moment, QB and Rex have kind of just been living rent-free.
It's a good question. The vision is definitely going to be helpful. You can adjust that way, like you say, with the extra scouting, but also Ballas is someone who we've seen play a lot of Psylocke. They're very much used to flanking and trying to make people's days just a little bit more difficult. So it could give them the ability to, like you say, just mark a little bit better onto the members of Vision who are currently, like you say, running a little bit freer, and team up with the Angela to really ruin someone's day before they get a chance to react.
We've sort of said a lot of it in like previous metas of like with Elsa, with Jean Grey and Phoenix, like if you have got a Vanguard frontline that is very good at diving and taking attention, those characters can often just get completely ignored and just have open range to do damage without any form of stress. They're just left completely open and they can output a lot of damage. Psylocke is sort of the same, so just having Daredevil to just be like, I know exactly where the Psylocke is in most cases, shows that even if you do have these like really successful dives from the team with the Psylocke, in this case Vision, you're still going to know where that's going to come in, just of where that Psylocke is going to try and posture from. And obviously if they've got eyes on them, they need to be a little bit more reserved in their approach, which means a lot of the time they're not doing a lot, which means that they're not building up their ultimates either. It might just take you out of the game completely if a Daredevil is good at calling you out. The problem is for Ballas, you've been on this team like 3 days, really. So it's like, how well are you going to be coordinated? Are you going to sort of talk over and free people? Do you talk enough? Because there's a lot of players that will play duelists who won't say a word. We know how good Sparker is at that, for example. But for Ballas, I don't know him well enough to know if he's a very vocal player or if he's more reserved. But you can't be reserved playing Daredevil.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the problem, right? When you're bringing a player freshly onto a team and you're putting them on a hero who needs to communicate with the rest of the team. Like, Icebreaker, just throw them out of the window. You have to get just right in, roll the sleeves up, and start calming like absolutely crazy, because that's what you're going to be relying on, understanding when Vision are looking for these hits. Because as we saw on the previous one, right, on Carousel, they played to close dive hit when Reason were walking out of those bunkers into the more open space, which dive properly flourishes on too. So Ballas having that extra information to bring to the table is going to be massively needed, especially when it comes to marking Satam, because Satam on the Psylocke, Dance of the Butterfly has only been picking up 1 elimination each time, but each time that it has, it's been hitting a crucial aspect of Reason's composition, to the point that once the Psylocke ult hits, they know, okay, we've lost one person super early, this fight's done, we're not going to try and draw it out, we're not going to give up more point percentage, worse ultimate economy, we're just going to call it and try to regroup.
And is there something I want to bring up here? This is something that we were talking about a little bit a couple of weeks ago with like the preparation for this. The Invisible Woman for Reason Gaming used to be a pretty solid character for trying to help deal with the Psylocke, because you've just put down Guardian Barrier, but that got nerfed. We're going to be heading back in. Take it away, Moxie and Ryan.
I mean, already he's just thrown straight into the battle. I think it's a Heaven's Retribution, and the recently buffed Cleave that comes in from the Axis for Forever, taking this moment after the pause. It's a flip of the script of what we just saw on the first point of Krakoa. Some progression made for Vision Esports, but Reason Gaming now taking a hold after not even that much when it comes to ultimate dedication, just the Vanguard's using, and also the Royal Flush, I guess.
I mean, this is the true test for Reason, right? Now that you've been able to establish your position on point, you can play to anchor with the mag. Azure has the invisible boundary, although granted, QB with the HJF could potentially just eat through that ultimate and deny anyone the safe space of hiding in it, as we're going to see Nocta just go through, break that TP so that Zerx loses one of the iframes and hit from behind. Cosmic Ion Amplifier is forced in reaction to the sudden amounts of damage, and Seijuro goes for such an aggressive invisible boundary, locking Vision's backline fully down with the slow so that they can't run out of it. Cosmic Ion Amplifier gets broken, the healing removed, and Reason start finding the eliminations. Although Vision Esports, they're still actually present in the fight. They turned around from the front line and dealt with the dive from behind.
It's a real showing of some of these EMEA teams that can play a player down and still find success. It's a big dedication to go for the Banhammer from Gainer, but he has found so much value off of it consistently. Yeah, and Amplifier was also used from Rex. It was a nice play for Reason Gaming. I love the invisible boundary to sort of break up the fight, and then as it ends, the Galactic Legend cleans up on either side of it. So Reason Gaming have to give up some of the space. They matched up on progression, and Vision Esports now see if they can sort of hold that like aggressive, firm positioning, but it's whether or not Gainer does actually get a lot of this like hot press. The Angela is coming in to try and dive, but nobody from Vision Esports can counter dive whilst the attention is split.
Let the Devil Light comes on through from Ballas, right on top of QB, forcing the HJF to come on through from that backline. Doesn't want to go for the eat since the uppy has the Meteor M, so goes through the safety of cover instead. As we get, well, it wasn't just that, it was also the Galactic Legend coming on through, which now means that Forever is going to be able to clean up onto the other Angela. Ballas finds the elimination onto the Psylocke, and Reason should be able to find that flip and hold the point still, which is really good news for them because that allows them to go for a very aggressive Raging Royal Flush. When Vision Esports try to walk forward, they can't rely on the engagement of Heaven's Retribution, since the Gambit ultimate would free everyone on the side of Reason it would snare up.
You've got also the invisible boundary that's very close to being available. Got so much out of that Meteor M. A good spot with it, eating up the Zerx ultimate, making sure that some of that damage isn't allowed to come through. Gainer not quite able to start up a Banhammer's form again, but the Royal Flush used early actually from KitKat. Heaven's Retribution trying to go in for the dive. There's not really that much time to work with, and you've already lost half the team in the backline whilst you were trying to posture up for this final fight. Vision Esports have absolutely nothing, and the worst part is, Moxie, is that if Reason Gaming take this now, they have a Galactic Legend and an invisible boundary to go into point 3.
Well, not just that, I think they're actually going to be forced into using it, but no! Forever goes to the spawn and cancels the strange TP. What a play from the Angela. Vision denied the teleport recontest, and that means that Reason get to hold on to the exact ultimates that you just listed for first fight on Cradle.
It's such a forward-thinking play.
Nocta!
No!
There is no way we just heard what we heard. It's gone.
30 seconds.
I think the org has to change their name from Reason Gaming to there is no reason in the history of the world, the multiverse or whatever, for Nocta to have done. It was so like, this team is so smart to be able to do this. And then they're like, let's make it interesting. Let me do the funniest thing ever. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to in Rivals, right? Even if you're planning on swapping heroes, you still carry over 50% ultimate charge.
No.
Well, I mean, Reason at least won't have heard the sound cue of the ultimate since it went off in their
so
spawn. So they're going to
it?
think that the Star-Lord has ultimate, but I mean, it does mean that he resets now to keep pace with KitKat. Maybe that was the play for Reason, but I don't know. I think I would have been more comfortable holding Galactic Legend and waiting for KitKat's ult to come online, as you now have nothing except stacking manpower to deal with the Dance of the Butterflies.
This could be damning for Reason Gaming. It's not only like potentially losing this map, but that's a tilter going into 2 and 3 if we get that far. Vision Esports, They don't realize quite what's happened yet, but they're probably getting a good inclination that, like, where is the Star-Lord ultimate? And they're able to build up theirs a little bit faster with Zerks.
Oh, they're going to be able to close hold the choke too, which means that Sejuani is going to be forced into using Invisible Boundary in choke and off objective. They can't even get past the TP to be able to use it on point from the rotation. There it is. This is why Vision held up so close. Force the Invisible Boundary, disengage. They do lose the Angela, and it was out of distance of the BRB, which means that reason they think that this is still winnable, Ryan. They're committing.
They have to. They're going for the fight and amplify to just aid some of the damage, but the Galactic Legend is going to clean up house. Reason Gaming haven't really managed to get anything onto the board here. They've had to build everything up from scratch, but it just feels like they're not in the server right now, Moxie. Like they're not really making a fight of this.
I mean, Cosmic Yarn Amplifier plus Deadpool damage, it just shreds for Reason's defenses the moment they don't have Invisible Boundary to rely back onto. The last does have Let the Devil Out. It's going to be used to punish Vision Esports close holding yet again, but the Daredevil's taking so much damage and no one drops on the side of Vision since QB gets to use the It's Jeff. Xperia does go down outside of the heal AoE though, and Reason once again just walk towards Vision Esports and try to push them out. But Ryan, so far, no point flip is reliant finally on the Galactic Legend we've been waiting for. I'm sure Vision Esports have been waiting for, and that will finally be them picking up first point cap on Cradle.
77% on the side of Vision Esports. You got to say better late than never at this point. You got DRP that's actually built up the Meteor and maybe sort of looking for what Zerx is going to have with his own Galactic Legend, but that's a while away. You want to see if these fights are going to go in, and even Cube's not got the It's Jeff anytime soon. You don't want to hold on to it for the sake of holding on to it, so Heaven's Retribution is going to be used first from Forever. That has really been the linchpin of keeping these fights even in the end. Hitcat does go down in this fight, but Nocta is able to trade. The Dance of the Butterflies is going to start to clean up the objective, so it's looking like it's only going to be a third progression made for Reason Gaming as Vision Esports well past 2/3 looking to get to 99% unless Reason Gaming could put something very quick together.
Yeah, it's really good play coming on from Satan. Again, ult tracking perfectly on point. Go for the commitment of Dance to the Butterflies. Sejuani does not have Invisible Boundary to be able to heal through it. Now you were able to win that fight. You can go for a really close hold with Gainer coming on through the Banhammer and forcing Reason to take even more time clearing out the Deadpool before they can move on to point for the Teleporter, which means that KitKat is denied getting to utilize the Raging Royal Flush until overtime, and Vision Esports can simply kite it out. Rex does fall the first though for Vision, which means no Rocket BRB, and they should actually lose point control, but the amount of point percentage that they have to work against Reason, they're perfectly fine with that flip.
Yeah, he's still held onto this Meteor M since. And so this is an area for Reason Gaming. They don't really have any other opportunities to hold this, but they've been in this position a lot to try to go for these forward holes and just keep resetting Vision Esports. They know that playing back and passive on the objective is just going to allow Vision Esports to farm up these ultimates and go on for a big hit and a big fight in the end. The gain is going to be, I think, the main thing that is the catalyst of chances for Vision Esports. Ballas, if he can get a pick, he's going to reset the timer a little bit, and Heaven's Retribution is going to be used on the other side from Xbada. It's not actually led to any picks, and you've got the Invisible Boundary and the Let the Devil Out used. Now things are going to get a little bit more stressful for Vision Esports as they're losing numbers. They have a Galactic Legend and the Amplify very soon, and I guess the good thing is you forced out some big strategist ultimates on the other side.
I mean, DRP is still holding the Meteor M to be able to absorb Xerxes' Galactic Legend and potentially one-shot the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, but that just means that Kyubi could get a huge It's Jeff off unless Noctis saves the Galactic Legend. Galactic Legend, Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, there's the Meteor M in response we were expecting from DRP, so no eliminations just yet, but Meteor M gets broken, and Reason don't have the opportunity to kite their backline into a position to live. KitKat is down, Sejuani has fallen, Vision Esports have denied the sustainability for Reason. It falls to Noctis to stall out the time in OT for the Strange TP to come on through, but he just can't commit. That Galactic Legend, he's got to float onto the point while relying on the mag to stabilize, but DRP is down. They get through the Strange Portal just in time. QB's not able to get the eat off the Strange TP, blocked the line of sight for it, but Vision still have the majority of players, and Reason don't have any way of stabilizing.
Oh, the Dance of the Butterfly should be the thing that cleans up house. Vision Esports able to win out in a pretty grueling domination game on Krakoa, but the talking point has to be like the Nocturne. Clearly like a fat finger, but it's what that does to the team. I'd say that if there was a map type that Vision was expected to win in this series, it would be this one. But when you have like a mistake as deep as that, it's whether you could just get that tilt out of your system and go into map 2.
Yeah, I mean, especially Star-Lord Gambit, right? You have Star-Lord Gambit. You have to play for Galactic Legend Raging Royal Flush win conditions.
There's no other
when
ultimate that is that bad at losing than that ultimate right then.
Yeah, like Vision Esports, like they have Rex on the Rocket, which is the reason why we saw like Ballas on the Daredevil multiple times for Reason's first engagement. Daredevil was tasked with going hunting down the Rocket, so if Reason found an elimination, it wasn't chalked off by BRB kicking in and Vision getting to bring that player back, which is why we're going to be seeing a whole lot of Rocket in a dive favored meta, because it means that you literally trade a full successful dive, potentially even trades onto some of those dive heroes with the kicking in of that BRB, so you can continue taking those fights still up players.
I mean, we sort of expected this series to be close. Closer at least than some of these like first matchups, which can be the team with a lot of experience versus like the new introductees of Ignite, just full stop. This one is at least giving us like that close series. You would expect that this is going to go to a full free mapper. Reason Gaming, like the Insomnia team that makes up this core, and as well as the introduction of like DRP and Ballas, have a very good like macro on playing like just payload maps, whether it is going to be Convergence or Convoy. It's how they sort of work in that place.
How they work in that place was very entertaining. Like, obviously, we did see a little bit of like bounce around for the teams. We talked about the ultimate. We might come back to it in the future, but overall, the fact is that was still close. While Vision were able to take control, Reason were able to fight back, get a pretty significant amount of charge. It's just the delay on the objective. That Galactic Legend was a good delay tactic, but at that point, you've staggered too many people in that final fight. It's very hard to deal with. As such, Vision now sit at 1-0 over Reason, and we're going to be looking for a map number 2. But, Moxie, you've been talking about it all day today. Another one-sided Deadpool win.
And another MVP for that Vanguard Deadpool 2. Like, Vision Esports, honestly, what impressed me the most is that they just moved to such an aggressive dive composition away from the very, granted, aggressive group mag compositions, but much more static in how they played. And Gainer has gone a long way, it feels like, in allowing Vision to explore those options because of, like, holding super close against Reason, understanding that they were playing with that mag, they were playing with the invis. Potentially on Cradle, you can actually just teleport, even if you're playing into a retake, you can go through a little bit down your choke into that teleport, bounce yourself onto point, and try to force the dive to have to come into you so that you sustain it, you get to turn it into brawl tempo, and the dive potential falls off. Vision say, no, we're going to scrap all of those plans because we're going to hold in front of the TP even more aggressively than you see some teams set up to do, so that the mag, the invis, can't walk past, and all of those ultimates are forced on the choke instead of on the point instead.
Ryan, with all those abilities focused onto the choke point, Reason unable to step up. But the fact is, they took round 2. Let's go back in time and let's build up Reason, as they are still in. This is a best out of 3. They can bring themselves back. Is there anything you'd like to see them change, or is it just the minutiae? Is it the play style that they just need to lock up a bit more?
I think it really, I don't want to keep coming back to it, but I think it's just like with how that second point ended and like everything that Reason had going into third, it felt like they had really set themselves up how that fight had gone on, that they were making team fights work without being super ult costly, not over relying on like Star-Lord plays, and you do have the Royal Flush combo on the side of Reason. I think like looking at like compositions, and I think the thing that surprised me is like we're still seeing at like Zootopia, like Rocket and Jeff. Even when there's no access to Gambit, the Rocket and Jeff looked really good in just surviving, playing for the dive. There was a lot of really good success out of Yan Amplifiers in various moments, whether it's defensively, offensively, in a response to an ultimate combination or against the opponent. It seemed that Rex had pretty much everything covered as the Rocket, which was surprising, I guess, when you're going up against the Gambit.
And we'll see if they do have it covered it for one more time, potentially, as we're going to be heading to a quick break. And when we come back, it'll be map number 2 of Reason versus Vision. Do you see, chat? Do you see the Vision? If not, for what reason? As currently Vision sit 1-0 up versus Reason Gaming in our second series of the day. And Reason have chosen to take us to Midtown in the Empire of Eternal Night. We're going back to another convoy here, and they've chosen to start on attack.
Yeah,
I think ban draft though, like Vanguard Deadpool, please don't let it be one-sided. I feel like this is just gonna be my ask for every ban draft today. It feels like, or at least if you're going for the one-sided gambit, you have to clean up the ult fights. Like we saw the separation, like we talked about, right? There's the unfortunate occurrence of the spawn ult one time, but there was also the ult synergy that they used to try and clear space to play into retake on Carousel, and they just mistimed it. Like they went so early, they didn't get eliminations, they didn't even get point flip off of the back of it. So I really want to see them hone in on addressing the ultimates when they should be properly used.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like worried, I suppose, of like moving into here, because if you just have a rough start on this one, you're like foreheld, and it's sort of similar to how like the last series was with Navi and Alter, right? It does feel like for Reason, from talking to them a little bit before, it's like they know where like Vision's bread is buttered, the domination is to go to. If this was MRC, we see Reason win on this map, Vision would take us to another domination and hope that it plays out the same way. They don't get that choice. So if we go to a third map, it is going to something that is a lot more like team orientated, objective orientated. And whilst this Vision esports team is like impressing and looking much improved, even players like Gainer that have been playing in tier 1 for quite some time, it's like they need to get better at how they play around these objectives, especially in a dive-centric meta.
We'll see if they'll be able to do so. Once again, Midtown, traditionally a map that very much leaned itself heavily towards those big triple Vanguard, triple strategist setups, but as we've already mentioned, those, while still possible, have fallen a little bit out of favor in favor of these 2-2-2 with heavy dives, or splitting the team up into 2 strike squads to try and really break up your opponent's defenses. We're going to be getting ready to head on in the moment the players are ready, but let's start with Moxie. Is there anything particularly different you think we might be seeing on this map?
Well, I mean, there's definitely something different we're going to be seeing. Kit Kat has been taken off Reason, and Simba is actually being fielded, which strikes me immediately as there's a composition that they want to play, which is tied to Simba's presence, and it's also tied to this specific map. As yes, we talked about, you know, the Adam stall strategies, but you also see a little bit of hit scan come through onto Midtown as well. So potentially we get some counter dive properly with like the Hela, the Namor, the Phoenix potentially.
I mean, who's going to be like playing the strategist then? Because like, I don't think we have seen more duelists be flexible players anyway. Like Jerky is somebody that's like picking up more Vanguard than strategist, but I can't imagine putting Balas or Nocta on strategist. Maybe Simba. Like Simba, I think was more brought in as like a duelist with like his stuff like Psylocke. But if he is flexible enough, it might just work in these cases. But like, maybe it's just a Hail Mary triple duelist composition. Probably not likely. Out of all of the triple Vanguard strategist compositions, I think triple duelist is probably not high on that list. Who knows?
Statistically not, in fact. In terms of actual just statistics across all of Ignite and Ranked, most triple duelist compositions are very successful, with the exception of like general Ranked, where a lot of people just like playing duelists, so you will see single Vanguard, triple duelists, and then double strategists to fill that out.
Yeah, I'm the single
exactly
Vanguard.
Sure
yeah, I know.
I
knew and feel it.
Well, we have seen triple duelists on Midtown on attack to be able to spawn break, actually. Remember, like, there used to be the meta where you would run, like, 1 Mantis, a Storm, a Punisher, a Moon Knight, a Squirrel Girl, and you would just slam all of the damage into the small rooms back when Penny Rocket Bunker used to be the go-to defense on this map.
I mean, my argument to that would be, like, for one, again, we sort of mentioned it before, like, there's no Jeff Nado now, so Storm stocks have gone down massively, especially on this map, where it was probably seen the most, maybe Yggdrasil, but also, like, would you change up your team's like roles to like try to break first? That would be, if it is that for whatever reason, that would be 200 IQ. But I imagine that it's probably something else in case. Like, we don't know what the pauses would cause. Maybe it's like Shejura's having a struggle in time, so somebody else needs to fill in. We don't know. But the main point, I guess, is that like it's a very peculiar change that I can't imagine that Vision were expected to run into.
Well, we'll see if they are ready for it, as we're going to be getting ready to head into Midtown once we are in the lobby and stabilized. Either way, this is going to be it for Reason. They have to win this. They have to keep themselves in this if they want to start off the season well. Whereas Vision, all they have to do is to repeat a similar performance as they did have a very solid first round. It's going to be Vision on defense, Reason on attack, and we're getting ready to head into Midtown.
I have a quick question, Moxie, before we actually get into... So, like, choosing attack first, we saw Alter Esports do it as well. Is that to just make sure that, like, you're the ones that are, like, setting the pace realistically, as opposed to the mental of, like, if you're defending and you get full pushed, it's going to be hard to go and attack then?
Some teams are, like, very aggressive, and they prefer determining the tempo themselves, right? Like you said, it could be, like, a demotivating factor, but I feel like there's actually more value going for defense, just because if you full hold against the enemy team, you can just like stop the scaling of Deadpool very, very quickly. As speaking about the Deadpool, I imagine we're going to see it first saved on the side of Vision Esports, and we now run into the problem. If Reason use the instant ban on Deadpool, Elsa gets through, or Gambit gets through. So it's sort of like a Sophie's choice of instant bans, as we see Reason continue the Elsa, but Vision actually mix things up. They're going to go for the Gambit, as they've spotted out that Reason's whole composition identity was tied to Gambit value, but that does free up the Elsa save from the side of Reason, so we do actually get to see her hunt on the streets of Midtown at least once today.
I mean, you're giving a team that has 3 duelists, realistically. And Ballas, Simba, you're giving them Elsa. It's a risk, but you're right. Like, maybe it is just something to try to, like, throw them through a loop, really, because Gambit, it's not only, like, his individual strength, but how he synergizes across multiple, like, characters and compositions. Everything else mostly going to be the same, a one-sided Gambit versus a one-sided Elsa, but low-key is not going to be allowed from either team.
I mean, not only that, but how often do you think teams are actually getting access to Elsa in scrims? If she's the go-to instant ban, not only are you pushing them out of the comfort zone, you're also probably pushing them onto a composition that they've had very little scrim time. The only way I would imagine you would get away with it would be if you went into a scrim with the agreement of, hey, can you leave Elsa open? We want to be able to practice it. As Vision have spotted the substitution, and I really like this. If it would have been a Reason going for a triple strat line by bringing one of their duelists in, who would they have been playing? Well, probably Mantis, which means that Vision, despite already taking out the Loki, remove the Mantis as well.
So you got to protect here. That could be something along the lines of, like, one-sided Deadpool. It's not really going to be a ban on the Daredevil. You're going to try and isolate maybe some of the other strategists full stop because you've already taken out 3. But Magneto's going to be removed from the equation too. So less comfort, I suppose, for DRP, but that's not really DRP's got so much more flexible with the characters that he's playing. He has hovered over the Emma Frost, and I think out of all of the Vanguards that he plays, how likely is it that we see that one? I think Angela or something would be, and Venom as well, would be more on par.
I mean, would you run the Emma if you're on attack of Midtown and you're anticipating something like a dive? Potentially, since you can literally have the Emma get to play on the objective itself. Vision, even if they do go for dive, would have to commit at some point to the objective, allowing the Emma to play within her distance and go for things like the Carbon Crush, because that's sort of the fall off, the mortality of the Emma Frost, right? She's not a threat level when she's in a different era of the fight, and so many heroes in Rivals can just outpace her. They can take a fight in an entirely different position, and by the time the Emma gets into a distance to be able to help out, they're already gone. Like the Venom, the Angela. If you're really good at playing your mobility and soft dives, you should never be getting caught out by a Carbon Crush.
So we're starting off already with a pause. I think on the side of, like, Vision, I think I'm just sort of looking for, like, again, we saw, like, in the last game that there was just this, like, maybe 1 or 2, like, non-mirrored characters, but here there's just, like, a boatload. You've got Elsa, Daredevil, and Deadpool Vanguard on the side available for Reason Gaming, and then on the other, like, Vision have Mantis. They protected Rogue, but it wasn't banned out, so it's not one-sided. They lost Mag, they lost Gambit even. It's like a weird mix, I think, for both these teams to try to adjust to each other.
Yeah, and I mean,
banned on both sides was Loki.
Yeah. It's still a problem.
He's always going to be a problem, okay? Like, Loki is one of, if not the best strategists. Some would argue even more problematic than the Gambit, given the fact of regeneration domain. And he can be Gambit with his ultimate. But something to very quickly touch on as well is that Mantis ban has also impacted Reason's ability to play the Ultron and the Mantis in a triple strat line. Like, you'll get the Ultron, but you won't get the Mantis to play alongside it. So Rage of Ultron, I feel like, is going to be running afoul of Meteor M in the same capacity we saw Galactic Legend previously.
Getting ready to head back into the game very shortly, it seems. Just waiting for the remainder of the players to confirm that we are good to go. But We have seen one-sided Deadpool. This time, though, finally on Reason Gaming's side. See if they can pressure the backline. So far, Deadpool Vanguard has a 100% win rate in terms of the games we have played today. We'll see if that continues. So does White Fox, ironically, but we've only seen her in one game. So we'll keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, what's the general thing? Because again, we're not playing on the most recent patch that we saw in game until next week. How much White Fox are we expected to see? So I imagine the answer would be more if we were on the most recent patch, but we're seeing, spitterings of it, I suppose.
I mean, she's still quite easy to punish, plus the ultimate is very easy to shut down in coordinated play. You can freeze it, you can Jeff eat it, you can rogue grab it, you can Emma carbon crush it. There's a whole bunch of CC that you can basically do that just removes her from getting to play inside that Kumiho form. So I imagine, especially with the fact that the teleport for the Sanctuary, very easy to jump on the Fox once it's on the 12-second cooldown and punish in the same way that all heroes who are linked to one teleport as their sole mobility tool is.
Looks like we're just sorting out what's going on here for these games so that we can jump on in for our second map in this series. Vision holding 1-0 up with some very different compositions, as we've already mentioned, losing quite a few of the tools that they utilized in that last game. Now we're going up against Reason, who are going to be having the option to play something very different to try and bring themselves back into this series. Or will we be heading to that next series right away, or will that map number 3 be materializing before us? We'll have to see once we're finally able to get into the game.
I like how disruptive these drafts have been in this series. It really does feel like it's just trying to make sure that the teams are... But I felt like for Navi and for Alter Esports, it was okay, we have these kind of compositions we're expected to lean towards. These are our most practiced. We're going to keep going with them, even if the maps don't go our way. Here it feels like you're we don't know how much you've scrimmed. And in the case of Reason, you got 2 new players. We're going to try and put you on compositions that you've never actually had the chance of practicing on this map in particular. So it really is a case of flying by the seat of your pants. For Vision, I think that's just the chaotic kind of playstyle that they want. So the fact that they've brought that to Convoy gives them a really good chance, I think.
I mean, one thing I'll say about Lions as well before they became Vision, they improved so insanely quickly. Being able to witness them scrim, they would go into a scrim, they would lose against a team, give them 2 days, they would scrim that same team, they'd beat them. They improved so quickly, so being able to adapt really, really fast, I think is definitely going to be a major strength for this team to be able to hold on to.
You go back through any of our MRC casting as time has gone on, and we talk about teams to watch, and a couple names pop up consistently. Dawncore, Lions in particular, these are teams to watch, and now they're making it into Ignite as Vision Esports. Let's see what they can do as we head into Midtown.
Just a lot of traffic, I suppose, in New York today. Lots of pauses and delays, which is going to warm down both these teams. If Vision Esports want to build some momentum off of their domination win, that's going to be slowed. And for Reason Gaming, a little bit more time to reassess the situation, to regulate how they may be feeling, any pressure, because for both these teams, invited, not really too much of a showing on how they're going to perform. Reason Gaming need to show up.
Feels like Vision is sort of anticipating a lot of counter dive, given the fact that we have both the Bucky as well as the Invis Woman in play. Zerk's going to be playing that Winter Soldier currently on the high ground, as Reason have not got any real way of pushing them off of it. Instead, they're going to prioritize pushing the objective and forcing Vision to have to drop and come to them, as sooner rather than later, Vision are going to have to do just that. QB trying to build up as much ultimate charge as possible, but given the fact that it's Reason who have access to the Deadpool, they should be the ones with the first ultimate, although they lose DRP. Stam just getting to take too many angles around the Emma's shield, and Reason have to just back off, wait for the regroup, and push back again.
I'm really surprised that he's committing to the Emma Frost when there's still so many other options. I mean, Emma Frost is really good in these game modes to just keep the fight going and out-sustain it, but usually that was in a triple Vanguard composition to be more of the damage and more of the focus. Maybe hoping that the other team isn't going to have many barriers on their Vanguards because they're playing more dive, but Beta is going to eat up a lot of the focus that DRP is going to try and put forward. They are eking forward inch by inch, but Vision Esports have to concede some of this space And really, it's just now farming up these ultimates as fast as possible. Forever, a relatively slow Banhammer, but it's immediately followed by the first Apex Legends that we've seen. Complete cleanup, though, from Gainer that's going to be over on the Rogue this time to find 2. So Reason Gaming going on the offensive and losing 2 for their troubles. They find 3, but the fact that this fight is still ongoing, Vision Esports have to give this up, and it's still leaking forward.
Yeah, I mean, Reason are past the ambulance as well, so now the fight splits off onto a long linear angle, which is going to be perfect for Jeff the Landshark's heal primary. They've got the Endsong Inferno if Simba gets rushed down by the Raging Roll Flush coming on through from Vision, which they're using to just get through Reason, get aggressive from their chokes. Meteor M's already gone, so Jeff would get value unless Zerx takes it down with the Rotter Stone. And Reason Gaming, yeah, it's taken them a little bit of time, but they are finding these eliminations. There's the Endsong Inferno blown up before it can hit the ground, unfortunately, and we get Invisible Boundary paired with Psionic Seduction just to be able to fortress this convoy and lock up the first objective point. The Vision are still trickling players on.
You've also, we've got the answer of, Nocta's going to be the one that's on the strategist role for Jeff. So Simba and Ballas in play, able to get things across the board. Seen a bit more Jean Grey in action, which Ballas was sort of well known for in, previous iterations. But Simba, first time that we've seen him play competitively at this level, and finds the first point objective, at least as things are moving forward. However, this is the area where things could go really poorly if you lose this momentum on attack. I think the main thing to say, Moxie, is this fight seems to have been going on for 3 minutes. It hasn't really had a time or chance to resolve. It's just constant.
I mean, look at Ballas, though. Look at the amount of damage that he can do in that downtime. He's already got the Apex Predator Cube. He's going to try to intercept it with the Invisible Boundary, but it's just too much damage. Invisible Boundary is one of the worst ultimates to try to use against the Apex Predator because you can't use it first. The Elsa will literally just use that Glartrox to grab you all outside of it. And even if you manage to get the boundary up where the Glartrox is going back to the Elsa, the amount of damage a lot of times still finds the elimination through.
It's pretty much just clawing up what's available. And I do also like the Apex Predator into the Carbon Crush from DRP that just CCs them for a little bit longer. Now you've got the Banhammer that's going to be used. Dancing the Butterfly able to at least clean up a couple more picks, and Zerx is actually going to go and find himself a couple more too. The bodies on the objective have to be stalled and stopped. Right at the edge, Reason Gaming have been halted from this second checkpoint. But look, immediately Simba is going to go in. Not quite king of the jungle approach, but he's maybe created some space. He's isolated some of these picks, but he ends up going down as Rex and Beta are going to clean up shop. Great position for the objective and the payload to be stuck in for Vision Esports, but a lot of time for Reason Gaming to build up what they need and push on.
Yeah, but they should lose this next fight. Vision are going to be able to have Kraken Impact as well as Heartbreaker paired alongside Raging Roll Flush, which for sure they're going to use aggressively the moment Reason want to make a play forward. We get the Bulwark coming on through, Gainer closes up the distance, starts grabbing away all of the ult charge, so Sejour has no opportunity to use Invisible Boundary in reaction, even if he had it charged.
So now Reason Gaming buying more time, seeing if they can force out more on the other side too. You've got a Kraken's Impact, Meteor M, a lot to try to slam down. Nocta is holding on to that It's Jeff, knowing that everything is going to be thrown at him if he tries to go for something a little bit more offensive. So if you can play it alongside something, force out these ultimates over the next 90 seconds, it would be a major step. Ballas has found a lot with these Apex Predators to be able to catch picks, but they're up on the high ground. It's whether it's grabbed much now, it's been stalled and halted, and it's not found much. I think it was going to go for the Magneto, but he used the Meteor M in response to try to not be caught out from it. Able to survive. Rex is able to stop this dive from coming in with the It's Jeff. Nocta not able to get much. Vision Esports hold on more.
Still, but that was a lot of ultimates coming through from the side of Vision Esports, although they do still have this high ground. Reason, they've got the Invisible Boundary, but again, you can't have it forced and choked. You need to be able to walk past Vision's hold and get onto the objective to actually gain any level of value. As Gainer's just going to look for a close hold, apply a little bit of pressure, maybe get someone low enough that the Hornet Protest can come through from Satam and find an elimination as we get the Psionic Seduction from DRP, but Sejuro's ultimate is forced off of the Kraken Impact from Zerx, and Vision Esports, they're just going to run away. They've got their own Invisible Boundary to take Sanctuary onto when the fight moves to the point, and off of the back of that, they have the greatest sustain. It's just a matter of cleanup right now. Reason they're not even allowed to get out of the fight, though. Zerx with the Bionic Hook casts it out, and Forever goes back to the respawn. Unfortunately, that means that he loses the Deadpool ult.
Forever has to go towards the Strange to go for Portal. At least you bypass this engagement of Vision Esports. Aren't the fastest, most mobile team. Might be trying to stall it out and stop this Portal play from actually coming in. So yeah, like the Strange isn't going to have a real opportunity. Simba's actually going to try and go offensive to strip down this ultimate, but I don't think there's going to be any chance of touching for overtime. Somebody's actually managed to grab it. Is this going to cause enough chaos and create that freedom? I think Forever's the one that's had to like actually drive by, or DRP has had to swing in on the Venom. But as the support and the rest of the team is trying to come in to give their aid, they're being picked off one at a time. It was just a hope, a dash for Reason Gaming to try and touch. Really well played from Vision Esports to keep this one alive for them. But I think it's like for Reason Gaming, they struggled when Vision Esports got control and they could just really dig their heels in.
And that's just the story of Midtown. The moment that the defense wins one fight on second and is able to secure up that high ground, it becomes so much harder for attacking teams to be able to get past. Like, you saw what happened. They took so much pressure just walking through the choke. They were so concerned about the close hold, the hits of the Rogue on the backline mid-rotation. They had to use Invisible Boundary before they even got anywhere near Herbie, which just meant that everyone on the side of the defense called it quits, kited out of the Invisible Boundary before they were punished by the slow, and then took residence in their own. So really good just ways of playing from Vision, perfectly understanding positions, and when to go aggressive enough that it forced a response, but not too aggressive that it was punishable.
Shout out to production as well. Has been doing a lot of these like bird's eye third-person views, because I think it showed like we saw the Invisible Boundary used from Reason on their attack in a more like defensive position right on the stairs of second, and then they dove in. Like they just put this big ultimate down and they just completely nullified it by not needing to use it anymore. It was used defensively. They wanted to go in the countermeasure. That's when Kyubi got a really good Invisible Boundary off right as where the team fight was happening, and Reason Gaming couldn't do much about it in the slightest. So I'm really impressed with like how Vision Esports are holding. The first point hold was like a rough time, but everything afterwards, it seemed that the composition that they put together really started to sing. Reason Gaming, it's not that they have to full hold first. They have a good chance of second, but they were hoping to maybe get a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, we have to see this also coming in huge. Like, POVS is already outputting a whole lot of damage, already a quarter of the way to that first ultimate charge, but they just have no map control right now. So Tam's been able to flank up and take high ground hold, which now puts pressure on Reason Gaming's disengage, and they get stuck inside these small rooms where they have so little space when the fight actually comes to them. DRP is down, the rest of the team just having to run all the way to hide behind cover, but look at the amount of distance Vision have been able to pick up so quickly in comparison to how long it took Reason to break around that second corner.
So much space has been taken in these sight lines. Like, it feels like Vision Esports are taking a lot of the sort of compositions and meta stuff that we just saw in like MRC and still making it work now, despite dive seeming to be like the main approach. The long sight lines is only going to suit this composition. X-Beta is really just going to be at the forefront to mitigate some of this damage and focus. Honor Proteus is going to be used on the defensive side from Reason, but it's DRP that goes down first over on this Emma. Apex Predator is being good at finding these catches, and it's able to find at least a pick onto the front line, but Invisible Boundary now being used from Vision Esports as a response. Zerx has found himself too perfectly, and Rex is able to follow up on more. I think the time that Reason Gaming set has been blistered by Vision Esports. It's whether they can keep this momentum going all the way till the end of second.
I mean, when you look at the ultimate economy and the hero matchups, you have to expect it. Like, DRP is going to go for Strange TP. This is them just making sure they don't get held on Subway. They're going for a map flip. I think they're going to try and TP and instantly disintegrate Rex so that he doesn't get the opportunity of using that Raging Royal Flush. The whole from the high ground, though. They got the Gambit, but the Namor got through. And that means that Reason are losing players. They just have to keep their position on the subjective. And Vision, they get slowed down a little bit, but they're just going to send in the ultimates. Meteor M, Kraken Impact. Azure is not going to be able to dodge out of that one. And Reason are losing players, and they already burned the Strange TP, Ryan. Remember, we're down to last fight.
This is scary now for Reason Gaming. Everybody has to try and group up, and Simba is the one on the Invisible Woman now that's hoping to try and hold the line as Noctis switched over like to the Namor. So you've got like roles being switched around depending on which of these duelists wants to play what. And now it's whether this hold it can get deep enough here. You've seen that X-Beta's taken a lot of space in the end, try to break some of the tools that are thrown down from Ballast that's really trying to make this one-sided Elsa work. The Royal Flush and the Heartbreaker together might be really all that she wrote for Reason Gaming. Everybody's being cleaned up. There's no space, there's no time, and Vision Esports not only able to sort of win on a map pool that wasn't really catered to them before, they destroyed Reason Gaming on this one.
I mean, huge highlight, by the way, has to go that final fight. It's all Gainer. They give him Bulwark and they send him with Heartbreaker into the back line, and it drains away Invisible Boundary. There is no chance for the defense to be able to stabilize inside a Strategist Ultimate and try to play the advantage of closer respawns by eking away eliminations against the attack. Brilliant plays, and honestly, like, great to see that this team is adapting very, very quickly to plays that they had to just try to fit in replacement of those they had previously.
Yeah, I mean, comparing her to Reason that have been just this see what can work in such a short space of time, Vision Esports. Really, we were worried just not only from losing some of the strong players that made this team really raw for Lions, but also the fact that like they lost somebody like Dennis that was helping out this team a lot. A lot of the improvements that you said that they made, I think was, he was a catalyst for. But here, like, Vision Esports have just managed to sort of pick up where they left off, and these new introductions of like Gainer and stuff have been like the perfect kind of positions to sort of slot in, to be honest. Like, that was one of the best performances that we've seen from Gainer in quite some time, I think.
I mean, they had such a good reaction as well to Reason going for the total map flip attempt with the Strange TP. QB, by the way, does not visit Respawn once. Goes through the whole duration of both rounds without going down, and is by far one of the players that you have to watch out for, because he's like quietly doing everything that Invisible Woman should be doing, keeping his team and himself alive.
What a debut for some of these players. Obviously, a couple have been in the Ignite before, but there's a few players on Vision here who haven't really had the chance to play on this big of a stage, and they showed up beautifully. QB not going down at all. Satam going at 11-3. It was a fairly low elimination game, but you compare it to the other side, the next closest people are their team. Zerx went 9-3, 8-3 for Gainer, and 9-2 for Bader, whereas on the other side, the closest is Ballast, who went 7-7. This is Vision putting on an incredible debut performance here in Ignite.
And such a big game to do it as well. Like, I was just looking at like the strength of schedule for Reason Gaming. Tomorrow they have Virtus Pro and then they have Fire Red on Sunday. It couldn't be any more of a frustrating way. Like, you've got the world champions that you're up against, and then Fire Red, who, similar in a game like this, are going to be like a bit nervous on how they perform under this new organization, but at least we'll have 2 games under their belt that they can build up some sense of consistency. For Reason, it was just a lot of car crash, like, disasters, I think, that happened to them today, and this is going to really hurt them, I think, with not only just losing on their map choice, but how they lost.
Also going to talk about the fact that we have finally broken the Deadpool curse. Is it still in the ban phase though, Moxie? Even though we saw the flip there, even though we saw Vision finally being the first team to take it down, is it still going to start creeping into these bans more often?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Vision, it's a real strength that they were able to have such a dominant performance of a win with the Vanguard Deadpool banned out, because it shows that it's not just a crutch that they're relying on. So even if you remove the Vanguard Deadpool, having Rex on the Gambit, Gainer as well getting access to an insane performance on the Rogue, because we have to remember there were a lot of changes. One thing that went entirely unchanged on this patch was, one, the team up, and also everything that Rogue does, and we talked about that last fight. There's a reason why Vision are able to close it out as quickly as they do. It's because Gainer literally gets to drain away Reason's every win condition before the fight can even start. So this team are looking really, really strong with and without that Vanguard Deadpool.
So we're going to be getting ready to head on in for the future. We already talked about Reason having a potentially very rough run. If we look ahead for Visions, they have Crownfall coming up next tomorrow. And then their next game isn't until next week after that. So they're going to get a little bit of a break after that. So it could, in theory, be a very good start for Vision if they're able to take down Crownfall as well. We'll have to find that one out tomorrow. Lots more excitement coming up for you all. Reason, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board, rethink, and come back for their match versus Virtus Pro and really lock it in, because that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's trying to work out. I think just some sense of like semblance, like that's concerning. Like that, not only like switching out players, like we sort of spoke about it before the series. Like, are they going to try to make a big change and stick by it, or are they going to try to like slowly make those adjustments? They kind of did both in this game. Like, that's Simba's first like debut game. Also playing in Ignite was a messy one, right? You're brought in to play some duelists, some strategists, depending on what people are playing, what side you're on. It just seemed like, I don't know whether that's been going like well in scrims, whether that's something that they've been able to like consistently do in like the 2 days that they have, but it was just, it's hard to get any data out of it because it's like, how much of it was us playing the map poorly? Was it us changing up the roles too much? Was it just the tilt from like mistakes that were made on the previous map? It's hard to go, this is what we need to improve by tomorrow because there's so many variables.
But you do have until tomorrow. That is any amount of time for prep, any amount of time for just a mental decompress is going to be important, especially, like you said, with a match like that, your first match in particular for Simba. I do want to say, I do appreciate Reason going for that flexibility, bringing in all three of their quote-unquote duelist players, showing that they have that flexibility. It is a good sign for the future. It just unfortunately did not get the best showing at this startup. But yeah. Enough about that. We'll be heading to a break in a moment once we get our cue to head on in as we get set up for our third series of the day. But let's build a little bit of hype around it, as it is going to be another one of those matches that could be deciding playoff positions for their group. We're going to have Shikigami versus Pulsar. And Moxie, there is some talent on these teams.
I think like Ryan and I are both in agreement that Shikigami could really take Group A by storm. Like, I have Na'Vi at number 1, Heretics 2, Shikigami at a cautious 3, but I say cautious because honestly I could see them taking a second position quite easily as well. So very hyped to get to see like how they're going to be interacting with Pulsar. I think for a lot of us who are looking to see if they can punch into the weight classes of Heretics and Na'Vi, this has to be a clean 3-0.
Looks like we are going to have an interview in a little bit. We're going to be interviewing the manager of Vision, which I believe is pronounced Asdi. So we'll be getting into that as soon as we are able. But a lot of excitement. You mentioned it. I think I have the exact same order as the both of you there.
I think everybody does. I'm the only one that doesn't. I'm the only one that has Shikigami second. But, I mean, we'll sort of can talk about it a little bit afterwards. But it's like, really comes down to like Shikigami versus Team Heretics, like who would be like second place there. I think that's the realistic, like who's going to be behind Na'Vi in this case. But it's more the fact of like Team Heretics by that point, I think it's their like last game that they play Shikigami. So it's a new team. We'll see them in action for the first time earlier. I'm really excited to see Team Heretics and Line Pro in the coaching seat for one, but it's more it's Shikigami building off what Cooking with Kaya did in Season 5. They've mostly stayed together as a core, whereas there's more of amalgamation for Team Heretics. But that time in between like Sunday of next week, like Team Heretics can go and work in that point.
Looks like we're going to be heading into our interview once again with the manager of Vision. Please welcome to the stage, Asdi. What a great performance, a great debut for your team. Welcome. Congratulations for starters. How are you feeling? Oh, we have a quick second.
There we
go.
There we go.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you feeling after that debut on the Ignite stage?
I'm very happy about the game and how we perform against Reason Gaming. We're working hard like for 2 months right now, and we are happy. Like work hard, you will get good result.
So looking at the games here, you did have a little bit of trouble on the second point of the first map, but you immediately adjusted moving into the second map and had an incredible run through there with your aggression on your attack in particular. Is that an adjustment on the composition? How comfortable are you feeling with your team's drafts when it comes to being forced out of that comfort zone that you started on with the Deadpool?
It's about the draft. We study every team we play against, but in the second point, it's like the map itself. Like you can't dive into the open map. Like we expecting to lose the second map, but we know we're gonna win the third map. So it's like we know what we're gonna play before, and what we think about it's happened like exactly in the game.
So to explore a little bit of the work that you've done, because we know that you put in so much work when you were actually running in MRC Season 5, was there anything that changed in how you approached MRC in comparison to Ignite, given that we have an entirely new draft structure?
I think about the changes, maybe you mean the changes the players or the draft, like who makes the draft? Because like I didn't get your what you asking.
Was there anything that you changed in preparing for Ignite that you would do differently in comparison to your Marvel Rivals Championship matches?
No, because we work step by step, and of course the MRC is not Ignite, but like we improve at like any level of the champion we play, like MRC or Ignite or mid-season finals eventually. We hope so.
I think my question is about like Gainer as a player. Like he was somebody that was sort of brought in with the majority of the players that were on Lions that we saw at the start of this year. Like what is it that Gainer like brings to the table? He had a really good performance here on like playing the Deadpool and the Rogue, but like what's he like in a team setting? Because he seems to be somebody that's allowed the rest of the players to just like look even better as a Vanguard.
You mean as like when we are in another country and he is like another, or you mean as he
Or just like as an individual, yeah.
Yeah, individual.
Yeah, just like as a player in the game.
Yeah, we're like happy to bring Gainer with us. Like he helped us a lot, and like he make us like a better team than before, and he has like the knowledge at the game, and we are happy to have him. Like he's the best.
We love to hear that. Last question from me, and it's a bit of an easier one for you here. With an incredible debut and your first time being on the interview stage, you might be winning over a lot of fans coming in here from people who might just be seeing you for the first time. What do you have to say to the audience out there who might be looking to become fans of Vision?
Okay, I'm gonna say just wear our appearance, because we're gonna win everything for the next 2 years. That's what I'm gonna say.
A bold statement. We love to hear that. Thank you for joining us, Azday, and once again, congratulations on your first win of the preseason.
Thank you, thank you.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have another one in the books. 2 down out of our 5 games for today, and we once again start to look to the future. Shikigami versus Pulsar. Shikigami, we've been talking about them a lot. A team that could, in theory, take 2, maybe even 1 if they can really perform. We haven't talked as much about Pulsar, so before we head to the break, let's have some quick thoughts, starting with Moxie. What can you tell us about Pulsar? We'll dive into more detail once we come back from the break.
I mean, if there's any time for us to see magic,